In episode 5, Aunt Julia walks in because when the kids arrive, she was outside clearing out some trash, and Conrad goes off on her. And Julia explains that she had talked to Adam and they both agreed to kind of rip the band aid off. They have to sell the house. It's just that simple. She put all of Susanna's stuff in storage. She made sure that it was properly taken care of, nothing was damaged, but Conrad ain't hearing any of that. I mean, the house is completely empty. It pops off a giant fight between Aunt Julia and Conrad, with Conrad being a savage himself by bringing up that it's not Susanna's fault that their grandfather loved her more than Aunt Julia. All the kids kind of walk away from Julia to go outside, figure out what they're going to do, and it just leaves Sky in the house. And Julia says, "What did you tell them?" And Sky says, "I told them about Christmas." Look, I'm not going to defend what Conrad just said, but Mom, I can't defend this either. They then walk outside to join the other kids, and Conrad is in full panic mode. He's calling his dad's not answering. And then when Conrad sees Sky, he walks up and says, "Did you know about this?" And Sky swears up and down that they had no idea about this. Yeah, they aren't exactly close, but they wouldn't have blindsided him like this. It's looking bleak for the group, but Jeremiah says, "Think of the bright side. The house isn't sold yet. We still have a chance." And Sky puts a little bit of a damper on that by letting him know that the realtor is expecting multiple cash offers well above listing. So yeah, they have a chance, but it's not a good chance. In the meantime, they need to figure out a place to stay because everything is gone from that house. And leave it to Cam Cameron to come to the rescue. The kids go to the country club. In the middle of the night, there's nobody there. It's a perfect place to sneak in and crash. And Cam is able to get in because his mom works there and he knows her code. He is, however, extremely stressed out because they need to leave this place in pristine condition so his mom doesn't get in trouble. Once entering the property, the kids need to find an actual place to stay, so they all kind of break up into groups. Steven and Taylor go together. Kind of expect that at this point. Conrad elects to go with Cam and Sky to find a place, and that leaves just Belly and Jeremiah. But Belly wants to talk to Conrad alone before she heads off with Jeremiah. She can tell something's bothering him, and it's the fact that he feels like he never should have gone to the boardwalk. If he had just stayed in the house, it never would have happened. And Belly has to remind him, "Conrad, it was going to happen. You can't beat yourself up over that." And for Jeremiah, watching Belly and Conrad talk alone is just bad memories for him. The fact is that whole time that Belly and Conrad were together was hell for him. He's been battling his feelings for Belly, but trying to remember how it felt when she eventually left him for Conrad less than 24 hours after they hooked up. Just a reminder on that one. He starts to walk off, but Belly runs up and says, "Hey, wait up for me." He tells her he's just going to check out the screening room and see if there's a place for them to stay there. And Belly says, "It sounds like an adventure to me. And an adventure's worthwhile in and of itself." And Jeremiah lets her tag along, but that line is something that his mother used to say all the time. It was actually a line in our high school yearbook. So the two head off to the screening room, and they start making shadow puppets at first. They grab some snacks. There's a little flirtation. And then their faces get super close, and they start sharing a LaCroix. Everybody knows LaCroix is the way to young love. Eventually, it's Jeremiah who pulls back and tells her that movie nights used to make him think of Belly all the time. He used to miss her so much. He'd want to call her, but he wouldn't. She says, "I wish you had." But Jeremiah says it just would have made things harder. Jeremiah then texts Conrad to see if there's an update on food, because that's where they headed off to. And they have found food. But as they're loading it up to a cart, Cam gives an update on a little gossip he heard about Liam. Liam bought a Maserati and then crashed it, but he bought it with trust fund money. And he was able to access his trust fund because he took his parents to court. He got a judge to overrule their rules about the trust fund. And that gives Conrad an idea. That three then head to the movie room to have a movie night, but Conrad can't wait to tell Jeremiah about what he heard about Liam, because he's now got the idea that maybe he could do it too. He reaches out to Liam to find out exactly how he did it, who he talked to, and get all the details, because maybe this could be their last-ditch effort to save the house. They then head off because there's two people missing. It's Steven and Taylor, so they have to find them. Neither are answering texts. Steven intentionally isn't answering texts, mind you. But as they walk through the country club trying to find the two, Conrad mentions how it's just nice to see Jeremiah and Belly being friends again. And while it's a really nice sentiment, it just reminds Jeremiah of the whole lovers triangle situation. A little while later, though, they do find Taylor and Steven. They interrupt a very intimate moment. Taylor had kind of been bashing the whole dead ball situation, and Steven said, "You would have loved dead ball. Who are you kidding? You just didn't get to do it because you didn't live here in the summer." So Steven, being the ever-romantic guy he is, decided to put on a song and start slow dancing with her. Their faces were getting close. Folks, they were about to hook up when Conrad and Jeremiah entered the room. Now, as soon as they entered the room, Steven and Taylor both said, oh, nothing was going on, nothing was happening here, but something was clearly going on and something was clearly about to happen there. The four of them then head back to the screening room and they start kicking off movie night, which has Cam Cameron feeling a certain way because even though these kids said that they would be clean and they'd clean up everything, I mean, they're teenagers, food's getting everywhere. And then you've got Taylor, who's trying to carve out an apple bong because she found weed in the lost and found. Nobody wants to make Cam have a heart attack, so they take the party outside. They grab a golf cart, and they start perusing the golf course. They decide it's probably best if they just sleep outside that night. The girls, however, they're kind of kicking back. Taylor's trying to carve that bong out, and Sky says, I could probably do it. That frees up Taylor and Belly to have a little bit of chat, something that Taylor's noticed. The look that Jeremiah and Belly have been giving each other. There's definitely a vibe there. And Belly admits that, there could be something, but then Jeremiah will remind her how she broke his heart. Belly also has noticed that there's a little bit of a spark between Taylor and Steven, but Taylor's sticking with the line, no, I've got Milo. Yes, because everybody expects that relationship to last. The two then agree to just leave first loves in the past and move on. For Taylor, that means Steven, and for Belly, that means Conrad. Now keep in mind that Sky is trailing the two, but she's probably in earshot of the conversation. And while she's working hard on that bong, she's probably eavesdropping a little bit. But her skills work. She finishes the bong, and when they finally find a place to just settle down, Taylor starts smoking up. Belly's a little concerned because they have volleyball camp in 4 days, and Taylor reminds Belly that it's high school volleyball. They're not going to drug test. But then she asks Belly, have you even reached out to the coach yet? And Belly says, no, I haven't. Belly's flat out just too nervous to do it. So Taylor grabs her phone and says, I'll text coach. And she texts her a typical, hey, hope everything's well. I talked to the girls. I'm planning on coming back to the team. See you on the court. Right after Taylor sends the text, Steven comes up and tells all of them that they're going to play a game of truth or dare. This gets a little bit awkward because, and this is why I brought it up earlier, Sky decides to dare Belly to kiss Jeremiah. And everybody kind of freezes knowing their background. And Jeremiah, who never turns down a chance to kiss anybody, says, come on, aren't we a little old for this? So then they just decide to pivot. But through the process of truth or dare, you learn that Cam's biggest regret was that he didn't spend more time with his sister who died when she was a teenager. He really looked up to her. And it's a good chance for the boys to kind of pick his brain on the grieving process and what it's like and if it ever gets any better. The group then decides to pack it in for the night, but Belly goes to check her phone and she has a text back from the coach. And the coach basically says, yeah, that sounds great, thanks, but no thanks. Why don't you hold off on rejoining the team? So that's a bit of a gut punch. But the other thing that was a gut punch was the fact that Jeremiah didn't want to kiss her. So she went and confronted him about it. And his dramatic answer is, Belly, I'm scared that if I kissed you, I wouldn't stop. It seems like this conversation could go either way. But when Jeremiah asked Belly, hey, that thing you said about adventure, did my mom tell you that? Belly reveals that Susanna did not tell her that. She read it on Jeremiah's graduation cap. Because even though she wasn't invited, she still wanted to be a part of it. So she watched it on her mom's phone. And the fact that Belly actually cared and took the time to watch it anyway meant a lot to Jeremiah, and the two decided to go lay down together. The group is awoken the next morning by Cam's mom, who is very confused why 7 teenagers are just laying on a country club lawn. She's also very chill about this fact as well, when they just say, hey, we'll clean up everything. As the tired 7 head to the car, Conrad tells Jeremiah that he contacted Liam's lawyers and he's hoping to hear back. He let him know that this is an urgent matter. But unfortunately, it doesn't matter. Because when they get back to the house, They find Aunt Julia talking to the realtor, and then Aunt Julia informs them that the house has been sold. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.